Gold broke a new record if you paid close attention to the markets, but it did not get to $3,500 an ounce. But it did do this. I'll explain in this video as we explore. That's right, gold has been on a tear lately. It is seeing a healthy pullback right now in overnight trading. It is now down well below $3,400 an ounce, but it came very, very close, like within less than $1 of getting to $3,500 an ounce in the spot price. Now, I've had some tell me that in overnight trading, it did get to $3,500 an ounce, but that's actually not true. The actual spot price of gold did not get there. What you saw were what other bullion dealers post for the spot price of gold. They use the futures market, which is actually a bit of a disservice for those of you who been following the markets and follow actual spot price from places like TradingView or Kitco. That's where I go to check for the actual spot price. There's very few dealers, in fact, I can count them on my hand, 2 that actually do spot price of what gold is going for. One of them is Summit Metals, who has true spot price deals, by the way. They are the sponsor of the channel, and they have a continuing spot price deal under their Summit Starter Pack, under their Stacker Essentials once you go there. But for gold, they've got the lowest price for fractional gold eagles, because they actually use spot price. In fact, I'm looking at the website now, and they are showing under spot price. That's right, for both gold and silver. How rare is that? Now, the reason why that's the case is because their numbers don't always coincide with the spot price numbers. And you can use that to your advantage, actually, when making a purchase. But I like these little grams that you can get from Summit Metals, and you can fill these things up. And the premiums are pretty low, and you can get in this little wallet, which is pretty cool. So check out summitmetals.com. They are the channel sponsor, but they are also the low price leader. I think even more important than being a low price leader is customer service, and they've really making a name for themselves in that area too, as arguably the fastest growing bullion dealer, online bullion dealer in the States right now, or in the world really. Nonetheless, let's talk a little bit more about what gold is doing now. It has climbed up, again, just shy of $3,500 an ounce. And though some of you may have missed that, because it did happen under the radar overnight, it did start to pull back fairly quickly. But that's a pretty high bar. And once it goes over $3,500, which I still think could happen, sooner or later something's got to give, and it's got to come back down a little bit. But what happened that I don't see anybody talking about right now is even more insane and crazy. And that is the fact that gold broke an all-time record when adjusted for inflation. That's right. You've heard me talk on this channel before, making the caveat between how gold or silver or both are measured in nominal dollars as opposed to real dollars. Nominal dollars meaning that you take one of these and you go back 50 years and, hey, a dollar is a dollar nominally. But it really adjusts in terms of its value. Because, and the best way for me to illustrate this is understanding what inflation is. The Federal Reserve keeps printing money, and by their target, it increases or decreases in value every 2 years. So what was this worth back in 1913? I think that's the best way to think about it. What a dollar bill was worth back in 1913. Well, rounded up, it was worth almost one of these. That's right. This was your dollar back in 1913, or very close to it. Maybe $97, maybe, but let's just round up to $100. That's how much the dollar has lost in terms of its value over the years. That puts it into perspective. So now let's fast forward to when the Hunt brothers cornered the silver market, and how gold climbed up dramatically during that time as well too, to reach an all-time high. You know, people talk about silver getting to $50 an ounce, and that was a big deal for sure. In fact, the gold to silver ratio at the time was less than 20. I think it was somewhere around 11. or 16 or something like that, which is basically was near the fixed ratio for so long. But in January of 1980, the price of gold reached an all-time high of $850 an ounce in 1980 dollars. Adjusted for inflation today, that would be equivalent to about $3,486, which is just below where gold's price went in overnight trading recently. That is a big deal, folks. And that means, I think, that gold is probably near its top. Now, I could be wrong. We could still continue to decline. People have been speculating now $4,000, $5,000 gold. It could happen. But there's a lot of psychology. People tend to pile on during these times. And I try to give a little bit of contrarian advice about this, or take the contrarian point of view. We've been going up with gold for so long for a lot of the same reasons. And by the way, some have suggested, I know Think For Yourself has said this, and others, that it's really about a reset. We're getting close to a reset, and this is actually a good thing to lead in that direction. And I'm open to each and every single possibility at this time, because I honestly didn't think we'd get here. In fact, I thought after it went past my original target for gold this year, I thought we would top out around $2,900, $3,000. I thought $3,000 was going to be a very, very tough barrier to overtake. And now it looks like we're so far above that now, it's hard to imagine it going back below $2,900. But really it could, and it did go there recently. Notwithstanding, gold is on fire. And it came down to the point to where it got to a boiling point, reaching an all-time high when adjusted for inflation. Nobody has seen that. I can't think of anybody in my, well, I guess there's several of you who may have seen that back in 1980, but not many. This is such an important milestone, folks, that it's worth mentioning and doing a video on, because I don't think I've seen anybody do that. Why am I doing this? Because I want you to know that this is unusual. Although the gold to silver ratio is also very high right now, I think that the gold to silver ratio is one of those things where it's beyond being an anomaly. I think we have got to be used to a high gold to silver ratio until something drastic happens. And that might be a subject for another video where we could see it narrow dramatically, but it's an unusual circumstance and I don't see it happening anytime soon. So it's not really worth discussing here. But what is worth discussing is that seeing where we're at now, we have topped out. Gold's never been this high adjusted in any way, shape, or form. Well, it wasn't when it was at $34.99 and 30 cents. But now it's back below that, which means that, some people feel it could consolidate again and start to make a run back up. Will it go to $4,000 or $5,000 an ounce? It is possible. But we've been going up and breaking records, I think almost 30 times now over the last year. That there's got to be a stopping point somewhere, and I think we're close to it. I could be wrong, and forgive me if I'm wrong on this. It is just a gut feeling. I'm not using any technicals or anything like that to make this judgment. But when you reach an all-time high adjusted for inflation, I think that tells us that we're in new territory now. And now we're just back off of that by well over $100 right now off of it. It's just amazing how fast things are moving here with the gold market. It is now well below $100 from where it was about a day ago as of the recording of this video. So that is something that we need to digest that information to give you a little bit of perspective here. That with this meteoric rise for gold explosion, that it very well could be that it could pull back from here. And I think part of that is watching silver. In fact, as I record this video, silver is actually now in positive territory slightly, and gold is down over 1% right now from the opening. Now the gold to silver ratio is now down to 102.87. So that tells you a little something here. Now, things can change on a dime, pun intended, literally, because that's the amount of that gold trades. That's the smallest unit that gold trades. That's how high it's gotten now. You will never see the price of gold with these numbers where they're trading at now in 5-cent increments or 1-cent increments like you do with silver. You were going to see it trade in dime increments at the smallest scale, just as is the case with rhodium trading in $25 increments and platinum and palladium trading in dollar increments. So that gives you an idea of what's going on here with gold and how fast it's moving and how volatile things are overall. And as we continue to watch what happens here with gold, I think there's some support for gold, probably above 3,000. If there's going to be some sort of pullback or correction here, but I could be wrong about that too. It could fall below. No one really obviously knows what's going to happen, but I think a hint or clue is that we've reached this all-time high adjusted for inflation. So there you have it. Let me know what your thoughts are on this video. I like to give you the latest news and analysis in the world of precious metals. I post daily videos, so if you enjoy what I do here, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel. And I'm trying to reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And I also want to encourage you to thumb up the video and share and hit the notifications bell so that you can be apprised of the latest video that makes its way across your device. So with that being said, I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.